Throughout history, there's always been at least one constant. Cavemen were depicted drawing animals with human characteristics. In ancient Egypt, their gods were animals that had a lot of human characteristics. In Greek and Roman mythology, a lot of creatures were a mix of animal and human characteristics. Throughout history, these are very common. Nowadays, we're just a lot cuter. Hi, I'm Chewy. Welcome to my video on What is a Furry, a cute introductory guide to the furry fandom. Let's begin. The furry fandom is a subculture based around anthropomorphic animals, which is essentially this. Animals that have complete human characteristics, are bipedal, have human-level intelligence, can talk, walk, do everything we can do, except just a lot cuter. The fandom started at science fiction conventions around the 1980s when people started gathering and showing a combined interest in a science fiction aspect that's been around for a while but wasn't really explored as a thing by itself, which is animals that have a lot of human characteristics to them. And a lot of people in science fiction started taking an interest in specifically that, and a fandom formed out of it, with our first con starting in I believe the early 90s. Now the fandom's come a long way from then. We're now a world-spanning fandom with conventions on every single continent except Antarctica, and a wide host to very many talented individuals, and it creates a great way to let people express themselves in ways that this fandom makes them more comfortable with. So, let's go into what a furry is, some common misconceptions, and how much of a positive factor this is in a lot of people's lives. So I went over what the basics of a furry is, but to each individual, furry is something very different to them. For some people, they're here for the art. For some people, they're here for the fursuits. And for some, it's to feel loved in a time where they can't find that anywhere else but somewhere like this, where they'll be accepted for pretty much anything. Of course, there's things that you won't be accepted for, but that's not for this video. Now, a lot of people discovering the fandom will find it from quite a few different areas. I, for one, found it by just browsing books and stuff and stumbled upon some mention of the furry fandom. But that doesn't mean that that's my only experience with it. We've all subconsciously kind of been seeing stuff and finding it interesting. For one, I really enjoyed playing games like Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank. These are games with anthropomorphic animals as their main characters, and as you enjoy these characters more and more, it's kind of like, oh, this is really cool. I like this a lot. Other people, a vast amount of other people, will blame Disney's Robin Hood, or nowadays, Zootopia, which, God, it's such a good movie. But it was an entrance for a lot of new furries to learn and enjoy the idea of anthropomorphic animals enough that they found their way into the furry fandom and are welcomed accordingly. The fandom is also a great way to help express artistic abilities. I, for one, never would have started trying to do anything artistic had it not been for this fandom, because I saw fursuits and went, I really want to get in on this. I, of course, don't have the money to get on this, so I started building. And this is my second version of my primary suit, but this would not have been possible had I not gotten into this fandom and decided, I want to try this. I want to push myself to do something I've never done before. And the results are always overwhelmingly positive. This fandom is very supportive of new artists and people that are working on their skills. So it's one of the most welcoming environments for this. So I 100% recommend, if you haven't tried yet, try art, try crafting, try something that you might be interested in. The fandom is nothing but positive, and it will help you figure out ways to get better at it and do it in a way that you will rock at. The furry community itself as a whole, especially up here in Wisconsin, is extremely positive and very, community-oriented. I help run and host quite a few things, but this community up here is always happy to do something, set up an event. So you're never bored, and you always have a friend group that's doing something or wanting to participate. It's a really great community where you can always feel like you're part of something and they appreciate you being there, which for kids with anxiety like I was, that is the best thing in the world, because I am constantly going, oh, they don't want me there, but it's like, no, no, they want you. They want to participate in things with you. They want to do things with you, games, meets, raps, all sorts of things. The community here is amazingly positive, and I'd say the same for a majority of everywhere that hosts furry-based events. The community itself is quite positive. Sure, every group has its cliques, but the majority does not. So it should not be like high school all over again. So let's get into some of the common misconceptions of the fandom. The first miscommunication is that furries are all about sex. Now, this is one of the biggest misrepresentations that the fandom has. Our community is primarily based off of young adults and teenagers, and a lot of our stuff that we do is primarily as public stuff. So it's public suiting, meets, ramps, conventions, and then 90% of the art is also safe for work. Our not safe for work content is pretty much on par with any other fandom that you could find, such as Star Wars, Star Trek, probably Homestuck, all that kind of stuff. But this is one of those huge misconceptions that are perpetrated just due to the fact that this fandom is renowned for being the butt end of jokes, and was kind of just an accepted rumor for a while, and now the fandom is doing its best to, support the fact that we are still safe for work, welcoming as a community. We have our adult sides, but it's not as big and large as everybody says it is. Misconception number 2. You need a fursuit in order to go to events and stuff. I don't know why I hear this so much, but apparently this is a really prevalent thought. You do not need a fursuit to attend anything. You don't have to have a fursuit to be a member of the community. You don't even have to have a persona to be a member of this community. I know a lot of furries who don't have personas that are just here to enjoy the art and the content. You can enjoy the fandom in whatever way you choose to, and pretty much make it your own. There is nothing forcing you to do anything. You don't even have to have your own character. You don't have to have your own suit. You can just be you and still go to conventions, meets, events, and have a great time. So if you're worried about that and that's what's stopping you from joining, don't worry. There's nothing wrong about it. Welcome on in. Misconception number 3. Furries are people who believe that they are animals. Now, this happened around the same time as internet bullying campaigns were going around for everything else that was going against the furry fandom. I mean, it's died down now, but this was when they would mix up furry and Therian. Now, Therians are people who believe that they are animals trapped in a human body. Furries are a completely separate group of people who just enjoy doing this for fun. They don't think that they're these animals, they just play these characters for fun and have a good time doing it. Therians as well, they do their own thing, and a lot of them do participate in the furry fandom, but they are 2 different groups entirely. Misconception number 4. All furries are dysfunctional and have mental illnesses. This was as well with the bullying campaign, but I feel it does need to be addressed. I have not met a fandom that has more, high-ranking members of society than any other convention. Any group, I've met groups of people who are firefighters, myself included. I've met CEOs of companies, Marines, high-ranking military officers, people in the higher-ups of society who are furries, people who never take their suit off when they're on the con floor because they would be recognizable. So they have to stay in suit to enjoy cons. There are so many people, this honestly is such a great fandom for networking as well and meeting people who could possibly help you get higher up in certain places or give you advice on your current job field. Because we have our paws dipped in probably every field on the planet in some way, shape, or form. Now, before I end this, I'd like to, to give a little talk to parents who have kids who are in this fandom or thinking about wanting to join it. At these meets that I've gone to, I've seen so many parents who are so supportive of their kids doing this, and just watching them see that their child becomes happier, more comfortable with themselves. Even as myself, with my parents letting me do this, they saw that I became more comfortable as a person, more social. I went from being an introvert to an extrovert because of this fandom. Like, it unleashed some hidden potential within me and just becoming a happier individual overall. So if you're worried about your kid going into this and worrying that something bad will happen, I say just go with them to a meet. Support their ideas and support what they want to do. Because it can only end up positive. And you might really like the results. It might make your child so much happier as a person. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other questions, go ahead and put them down in the comments, and maybe I'll make another common misconceptions video or something like that for it. But be sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good night. Bye!